Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. iPod, iPhone, iCar. So who's heard of the first two? Obviously you guys have heard of the first two because it's in the news all the time, iPod, iPhone. Correct?
Yeah.
You guys have heard that. Now with the exception of me speaking, iCar might be a little bit foreign to you. Have anybody heard of iCar before with the exception of me speaking? So iCar is a not-for-profit organization, and iCar focuses on collision repair training. So the focus of today is I want to inspire all of you guys, if you ever get in an accident, and by the way, statistically, every 7 to 10 years, each one of us will be in an accident. I want to inspire you guys to use an iCar certified shop. Okay? So you might ask yourself, well, what is iCar? I'll just tell it to you straight. iCar is the inter-industry conference on auto collision repair. Oh. You can see why iCar just calls itself iCar. And if you talk to a lot of the guys in the shops, and if you talk to State Farm, you talk to USAA, everybody knows about iCar. But like in this circle right here, as you can see by the reaction, nobody knows about iCar. And you might ask yourself next, how did iCar come about? Well, iCar came about 35 years ago, and for us that were around back then, back in approximately 1979, I can remember back then, there was a huge fuel crisis. Everybody was lining up at the gas station, and you just had to wait in line forever. And so what the government said is they set these CAFE standards, and basically the government said, we need to be responsible, we need to do something about that. We need to have automobiles that are fuel efficient, we need to have automobiles that get better gas mileage, simply put. So with that in mind, cars had to become quite a bit more lighter. For example, back then everything was just basically frame over frame. They put the car on top of a frame, and now it's a unibody. Starting in 1980, so many of the cars were built with a unibody, so that the whole weight of a vehicle was spread around. And what that means, obviously, the car's quite a bit lighter, but what happens is when a car gets in an accident, it's so much more difficult to put the car back together because you got some of the weight of the car over here, you have some of the weight of the car over there. So the car is a lot more complicated. So you need technicians in the shop that can truly put this car back together. So a few stories. Story number one. So again, iCar is collision repair training. So story number one. iCar delivers training in a lot of different ways. We do it in a classroom setting like this. We do it online. We do it virtually. So this story deals with an in-shop experience. So one of our instructors goes to a shop, and we're training the technicians on how to weld. This is how you do this. This is what it looks like. But also, what we do in the shop is we inspect the equipment. So this is a welder. This is the wire in the welder. This is the gas in the welder. More importantly, the welder is plugged into the wall over here. Okay. So one of the things that we do is we'll take two pieces of metal. We'll put those pieces of metal together, and the instructor will take the metal and they'll just weld it together. Well, cosmetically, this piece of metal might look great. You'll have a bead going right down the center of it, and you would think everything would be great. So in the story, what they did with the two pieces of metal that were welded together is they put it in a vise, and the instructor took a hammer and he hit the pieces of metal, and it cracked right apart. Well, again, cosmetically it looked great, but it wasn't great. Why wasn't it great? It wasn't great because the welder was plugged into a wall that didn't have the right power to it, and therefore cosmetically it looked very professional, but it wasn't. And at that moment in time, the owner of the facility just shook his head and looked down at the ground because he realized at that moment in time that for years and years, for how long he had been operating his shop, he had been fixing cars incorrectly. So all those welds for the families were done incorrectly. So what that means, if the car's going down the road and gets in another accident, it falls apart, and structurally the car won't hold up in the next accident. So there's a huge liability there, and the owner was just shaking his head in disbelief. He was really, really concerned. Another story goes like this. Approximately 10 years ago, I was driving my 1998 Honda Accord at the time, and I was sitting at a stoplight. Bam! I get hit from behind. Talk to the guy. You know all the process when you get in an accident. Their insurance told me to go to this one shop, so I went to this one shop. I got my car fixed. Well, everything looks great. My bumper's on there. It feels pretty solid. Year 1 goes by, year 2 goes by, and all of a sudden I see some brown stuff coming from the side of my car. What could that be? What could that brown stuff be? And I feel my bumper isn't quite feeling solid anymore. What it is? It's galvanic corrosion. I know you guys are probably like me, what is galvanic corrosion? I'm sure a few of us in the room know what galvanic corrosion is. But what galvanic corrosion is when two dissimilar pieces of metal are placed together, like in my Honda Accord's case, aluminum and steel placed together, they rust over time. And all that brown stuff, all that rust comes out, and so it's a very unsafe situation. So, you know, had I known about iCar at that very moment in time, I definitely would have wanted to go to a shop. So I know you're thinking, what else, what drives iCar? Well, I'll tell you another thing that drives iCar, and that's the insurance carriers of the world. USAA, State Farm, American Family. For the most part, all those carriers want to ensure that their customers, for example, in the room today, send their folks to iCar shops. You think about it. Why? Why would State Farm, I have USAA, but we'll just say USAA. Why would USAA want me to go to an iCar certified shop? USAA wants me to go to an iCar certified shop for a number of reasons. They want me to go there specifically because they know, based on KPIs, key performance indicators, that I'm going to get a better job if I go to an iCar certified shop. Those technicians are trained. But as we know in life, so much comes down to money, right? And they know that if they send their customers, if they send Doug Schluter to an iCar certified shop, they are going to significantly reduce their liability. So if it ever comes to a courtroom setting or whatever, and somebody ends up on the stand, yes, I went to an iCar certified shop. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to inspire you guys, truly want to inspire you to go to an iCar certified shop. You guys have the pens now, you're not going to forget. And again, remember, unfortunately, 7 to 10 years, we all end up in an accident. So iCar certified shop. Thank you.